Hi, I'm Dr. Matthew Norton, founder of People Plus Purpose, and your host on this episode of the Truth Behind Dentistry podcast. And today, I am thrilled to be joined by business coach Anthony Blanco. Anthony has a master's degree in business administration with an emphasis in HR management. He has a background in financial planning and has partnered, if I can get that word out, Anthony, has partnered with Action Coach Business Coaching, where he specializes in leadership, team building, and mindset. He is married to his high school sweetheart. I love that. They have 3 kids, and he's competed in 6 triathlons and the Ironman 140.6. I'm glad we got the 0.6 in there. Welcome, Anthony.
Hey, how you doing? You gotta get the 0.6 in there. It's like anytime you're out running or biking, it's the same thing as like getting to the next telephone pole. Like you just got to get to the next stop sign.
Yes. And I've not done all of that, although I've done some half marathons and I ran 1 full marathon. And speaking of that next landmark, I swore I would have been willing to swear almost anything that they were moving those mile markers back.
Yeah, for sure.
As I fell across the finish line, it makes me feel kind of wimpy that that's what happened compared to triathlons. But anyway, it's all relative, right?
That's right. It is
victory. It was a definite victory.
That's right.
So great. I'm looking forward to our conversation. I'm intrigued by all of the things that you've done that have kind of brought you to this point and give you value to share with our listeners today. So just to kind of get us started, I'd love to kind of talk about the hiring piece. I know that's something that you've given time and attention to. So maybe you could share some keys to help make hiring a little bit more manageable in this environment that we find ourselves.
Yeah, for sure. So I would say that the first key is know who you're hiring. And what I mean by that is what I find is that most businesses, dental practices, they actually, the owners and the key management in the practice don't sit down. They don't take an hour or 2 hours to actually say, here is who we want to hire. I read about it a long time ago, I think through like some Darren Hardy stuff. Darren Hardy's kind of one of those learning guru type guys.
Right.
Yeah, and so I had learned through him, he had like 12 pillars of his teammates, not of culture, but just of who he wanted to hire. And so each organization I work with, I make sure that they're focused on what are the attributes. And we always start with the ideal team player. So I don't know if you're familiar with Patrick Lencioni at all or not, but some of the first 3 attributes of the ideal team player, are they hungry, humble, and smart. Right. And then we have them build from there, whether it's another 7 to 10, usually 10's about good. So 10 total, as far as creating that avatar of the person they want to hire. Mm-hmm. And the way that I look at it's like this is my wife and I, when we were looking at the current house that we had bought, I had 10 points that I was focused on of the house that we wanted. If I looked at anything but my realtor sent me or that I saw online, all I had to quickly do is measure what was given to me, a measure against what I knew were the points that I wanted to focus on for the house. And I knew right away, nope. Just so happens that the house that we currently live in hit 8 out of 10 of the points, 80%. There is a rare that anybody's going to be perfect with what you're doing or wanting, but they can be 80%, right? And more than anything is understanding and the anchors of that ideal team player. Are they hungry? Right. So really focusing on hunger. Do they want to work? What have they done in the past that have showed that they want to work? Right. Are they smart? Not like, are they IQ smart? Although that should be a given. We want IQ smart people, but how well do they interact with other people? Right. So humble, hungry, and then humble. So are they coachable? Right. The last thing that we want to do is hire in anybody that's not coachable. So I walk all my practices through, make them slow down to be very accurate on actually who they're looking for. And I have them do that for each position. So what is the front desk avatar? What is the hygiene avatar? What is the associate doc avatar? And we have people walk through those very slowly and define what they want. So that way they know when they either get on the phone, get on the Zoom, or the person walks through the door, they know exactly who it is if it's a candidate.
Very, very nice. Yeah. So just breathing and being able to show up is, you're saying, is insufficient in terms of qualifying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And in reality, like long gone are the days where we could hire for like, oh, we need 2 years dental experience, right? That's just not the way it is anymore. Right now, we're at the point where when you look at, man, I went into Starbucks, or I had this awesome waitress or waiter at a restaurant. You're looking for somebody that's front desk or maybe an assistant, and they just give you that wow customer service. Do they have the intangibles of somebody that is customer service oriented, right? Or patient service oriented? And then that's the person you just throw out the invite. Hey, I don't know if you'd be interested or not, but like, let's come in and sit down and see if this would be something you'd be interested in. Because if we keep on looking for people with dental experience, it's going to take forever to hire the right person. We've got to be focused on hiring the right heart as opposed to hiring the right skills. Good. Because we can teach the skills.
Yes, very nice, nicely done. And I agree with you. I like Lencioni's work. I also like and have kind of taught the application with teams myself from John Maxwell's book. He's written a lot of good books in this area, but the 17 Essential Qualities of a Team Player, which is now 20 years old, I think.
Sure.
Certain things are, I mean, truths are truths.
That's right.
Being a team player is such a key, right? To be a good fit for the role, but are you going to come together as a team? Well, not naturally, right? So
right.
That's everybody going to intentionally bring. So I like that that's a focus that you're talking about. So that's one key, right? To spend the time actually talking about, and actually not just one person deciding, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, intentionality. Absolutely. Yeah. Intentionally. So the first key is be intentional with what you're designing and who you're trying to hire. Yep. Perfect. Key number one.
Okay. Next.
Yeah. The key number two would be have the appropriate onboarding system and process pre-built before they get there. Right. So know what they're going to be doing for the first week. Know what they're, and when I say week, like you want to break it down, like first day is this, first 3 days is this, first week is this, first 2 weeks is this. And you actually have a document, whether you want to use Google Sheets or there's some softwares out there that you can build, takes a lot more time and effort. But you can build that onboarding process where they get to then check, are they hitting these areas of mastery or not? Right. So right away in the first 90 days, as you're taking them through this onboarding process, you're going to know, because you've identified the skills that are necessary to be a part of the team, whether or not they're going to be onboarded. But what I would find is a lot of folks, practices, they don't lack the onboarding system. They lack using the onboarding system, right? They lack updating the onboarding system. It was something that used to sit in a binder. They haven't put it into a spreadsheet as far as like a Google sheet of something that they can keep on adding people to document what the person's learned. So that's the number two thing, was make sure that you have a documented onboarding process for them.
And on that, where are you finding in that onboarding, other than the fact they haven't updated and haven't actually used whatever they have in place, where are people stumbling? What are the main, what's a main onboarding glitch or two that happens from your perspective?
Follow up and follow through. And that's not on the onboardee, it's on the person that's supposed to be doing the onboarding, is slowing down and being thorough and making sure that they've really train the person. And delegations, like if I'm an office manager and I'm delegating a responsibility to somebody, let's say at the front desk, and I'm delegating that responsibility, it means that I'm training them on how to appropriately do it. Where some practice managers or leads or whatever it may be is, instead of delegating and do appropriate training, they do like abdication, right? Where they give somebody the responsibility, but they actually never really train them. So I hear more often than not, I told them, right? But that's not the way it works, right? I told them, right? So that's one of the main things that I see is following through, slowing down, making sure that the person really understands. I show you, then you show me, coming back and checking back in on that again. So really slowing down to make sure whatever skill you're teaching has been really acquired. Not just like I did it, then you did it, and then I don't ask you about it again.
Right. Yeah. No, that's good. I even find sometimes where people are telling and expecting, and they don't even, that person who's making that expectation, they don't even know exactly how to do the job.
Oh yeah, I mean, literally, I was talking to an office manager this morning, and we were talking about building the onboarding system. And it was funny. It reminded me of this story back in high school during a speech class, and they said, "All right, an alien lands on Earth, and you have to teach them on how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich." And so they said, "Okay, now you have to write out the instructions, which is onboarding, on how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich." And there was at one point in time, the guy was reading some other gal's instructions, like put the peanut butter on the bread, right? And what does she do? She grabs the jar of peanut butter and just puts it on the piece of bread, right? Instead of unscrew the lid, get a scoop, put it on the peanut butter, spread it out. And that's one of the faults that I see is, again, not the slowing down, because somebody that either has done it for a while or has already been trained to it, they intuitively know what to do. And so they might say, example this morning, click this button. Well, when you go into EagleSoft, Dentrix, whatever it may be, like the person's looking at the screen and they got 422 buttons that they're supposed to push on their screen. It doesn't say where the button's at.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It makes me think about when I'm putting together IKEA furniture or something.
Oh my gosh.
Like, there's no words at all, right? You're just trying to see, what is this picture actually trying to show me here?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Must just be my weakness. I don't know.
That's right. No, I get it. I'm always like, how long is this screw really? You know?
Right. Okay, so that's a couple of important things. Then knowing who you want to hire, having the onboarding be more optimal, and what else?
Then I would say that the last thing is, as far as like the first 90 days, is making sure that you're doing check-ins. So you have periodic check-ins, and again, everything's on a calendar. So you have your entire onboarding process on a calendar, right? And then right below that, you have your dates on a calendar that you're doing check-ins. So as long as you follow that process and build it with intention over the 90 days, you're going to know, and probably sooner than that, you're going to know whether or not the person is a right fit.
Okay, great. Awesome.
Yep.
So that's kind of a focus on hiring, which is really a focus on, in general, finding team members that are appropriate for the role, for the team, et cetera. And I know personally, and you probably find this to be true as well, I'm imagining that a lot of the time, the practice focus is on other people, team members, issues, people we need, or the issues that are being dealt with. But the leadership is a bigger factor than most leaders, I believe, think it is. So would you say that that's true? And talk to us a little bit about kind of the importance of stepping up the leadership contribution skill sets in the practice.
Sure. So for example, we just got done, some friends of mine and we just did a mastermind group. So this is for practices that are focused growth. So we just did that in Fort Lauderdale at a beautiful resort. It was phenomenal. And so we brought in these growth mindset practices, and we actually went through the 15 laws of growth by John Maxwell.
Okay.
Right. And the main thing, one of the things that we focused on is that because the 15 laws of growth have a lot to do with I have to grow, which then goes into the number one thing of the 21 irrefutable laws, right? Of leadership,
Yep.
Which is the law of the lid, right? And so when we look at the law of the lid and we say that if I'm a level 5, my business, or I always say my personal and my professional life, can only grow up to right underneath my level. So if I'm a level 5, both personally and professionally, then my business and personal life can only grow up to a level 4. And so as leaders, we have to constantly be sharpening our skill and growing and pushing that to a 6, 7, 8, 9, because we're for the level 9, then we can bring our team to a long 11, 7, 8, 9, or 10, right? If we end up ultimately growing to a level 10. In the same way, since you brought up the 17 laws of teamwork, is right now I'm educating my offices on the 17 laws of teamwork. This week was number 10, which was, I believe it's the law of paying the price. And it means, is our team paying the price of growth? And typically what owners hear is they hear, my team needs to pay the price. Right. What I usually say is like the greatest tool that you can ever use to help grow your business or grow you personally is the bathroom mirror. Right. And so a lot of times when we hear new things, we don't look at it as personal and professional development. We look at it as you development. Like I hear something new and now you need to learn this so you can be better. Right. As opposed to saying, this is what I need to learn. And so when we look at the law of paying the price, is that John Maxwell says is that you will pay the price. Either you're going to pay it up front or on the back end. And usually if you pay it on the back end, you're going to pay a lot more. Right. And then also the law of the price is you growing as a leader. What do you need to do to grow as a leader? How do you duplicate your vision with your practice manager or with your practice in general as a leader? Right. So when we look at all those different pieces of those laws, all of them go back to me, what I need to learn, what do I need to apply, and then how do I communicate that level of leadership that we want inside the practice. But I got to do it first so people see it.
Right. Very good. Yeah. And I think that's all true, whether it's business relationships or personal relationships, right? I kind of describe myself as a leadership and workplace culture coach, but really I see myself primarily as a relationship coach in business. But that really carries over to, I've been fortunate to be able to participate in a lot of marriage coaching over the years that started sometimes in business scenarios that led into that when they found out that I did that. But it's the same thing. We tend to see the person we're married to as the one who has the challenge, needs to elevate their game, right? If they would just be different. And so that's just a human thing, right? I'm looking out and seeing stuff out there, right? Yep. And not so much accurately seeing this, in me. Like I want to get the splinter out of their eye, right? Yes. When I got the plank in mine. So it's just so hard to be able to do that, I think, naturally for people.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So what are some of the other, in addition to that kind of missing of my own need to grow, what other kind of pearls of leadership wisdom in our remaining time might you want to share for those leaders, those business owners that are listening right now? What are some top things they can do to step up?
Step up their leadership. Number one is, I would say, live above the line. So living above the line is ownership, accountability, and responsibility. Okay. And so they have to live above the line, which means that if a teammate, my practice manager, whoever doesn't do what I think they should be doing, again, I go back to myself and I say, what didn't I communicate? What way did I communicate it in? And how can I do it differently in order to get a desired response? So a quote that we frequently use is true communication is the response you get. And so if people are not taking the actions that I think they should be taking, then I say, what do I need to do differently to elicit a different response, right? So that's the thing above the line. Below the line thinking is blame, excuse, and denial. My team around me, people aren't good. If we could just hire the right people, that's that blame, excuse, and denial. And so if leaders really step into that ownership, accountability, and responsibility, they're going to look for opportunities to grow. Another thing is I hear this frequently. This is always what's interesting. And believe me, I love my docs. Like I love working with my teams, and I talk to them very frankly, just like you and I are talking. And I hear this a lot of times from any business owner or practice owner is they say the trivial of people, my team, my people are my greatest assets. And okay, fair enough. Let me look at let's review your P&L. And so I'm just looking at their P&L and I see stuff on there for continuing education for the doctor, associate doctor, but I don't see any training investment into their team.
Yeah.
right? So if that's true, then why don't they spend time doing it? Like organizational culture, how are they building that? What are they investing into it? Another thing that I heard this the other day was great. Somebody from Stage said, how many people have a 5-year or 3-year business plan? Even if it's not very good, you have something. It's probably collecting dust on a shelf, but you have it. And everybody's like, yeah. How many of you know what goals that you're going to hit, and sales goals and treatment goals and all these things that you're going to hit? And everybody raised their hand. They're like, yep. And they said, but you told me 10 minutes ago that the top 3 things that were of your business was like finances, goals, and then culture. He goes, how many of you have a culture plan? How many of you have it documented? This is what our culture is, and nobody raises their hand. They never spent the time investment or money investment in order to build into their people or even design what it's going to look like.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Very, very true. I do think that that's a common error of looking past the team to the patients, or in any business to an end user, as opposed to really optimizing those that are lateral to you and saying, are we really a team, or are we just an aggregation of individuals showing up at this place doing something, and we're missing out on the opportunity to really change lives at the highest level because we're not together in this. We're not optimized.
Right.
So yeah, I completely agree with that. I see that being a big thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of those things, man. I'm just like, if you take your time, and that's I'd say the biggest obstacle is people taking time. You know, there's this gentleman that I listen to and read. His name is Jim Rohn, Rohn, and he's been passed away for quite some time, but he says, if you don't plan your week is gone. If you don't plan your month is gone. If you don't plan your year is gone. And what I find is very seldom do people actually take like a 3 days a quarter or a week a year to do actual strategic planning on what they want to apply. Like right now, I'm wearing a shirt that says design your life. So I'm all about people being intentional in designing their life, but so many people will spend more time planning their vacations than they will actually spend time planning their business or planning their life.
Yes. Kind of with the thought that as long as I work hard enough, long enough, I'll get somewhere.
Right.
And will, right? But not necessarily where they might most ultimately desire. So yeah.
Absolutely.
That's very good.
Yeah.
Well, this is good. I love talking about this stuff, just like I know you do. So, and I'm expecting that those that are listening to us have already they've already gotten some gems that were worth the price of admission, which was very low.
Yes.
In this venue, very low. But but incredibly valuable. And I'm also expecting that there's people who are listening who are saying, this Anthony Blanco guy, he's got some good stuff to say. Yeah. So if for those listening who would like to connect with you and find out more and kind of learn more what else you have to offer, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Probably the best way is to send me a text. My email, I only check about once a day. And then if I think that it's spam, I ignore it. So I would say text is the best way. And so that my phone number would be 785-554-8626. And then they just want to put, if they reach out, either call or reach out, but they just want to put like where they heard, hey, I listened to this podcast. I'd like to catch up sometime. Right. It's super simple. And then I'll send over like one of those Calendly links they can click, and then we can schedule some time to chat.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. And if they were going to email, they'd have to put at the beginning of the subject line, Anthony, I'm a fan, don't delete.
Yeah, it'd be like, Anthony, heard you on podcast, right? Truth Behind Dentistry. Then I'm going to see it, because all the other stuff, I'm like,
right.
Delete.
Right. So much of it'll be like the wonderful LinkedIn connections, right? Where as soon as you accept, they believe that you already love them and want to buy everything they have, even though you weren't looking for anything at that moment.
That's right. That's right.
Somebody needs to teach more people, I think, on what not to do on platforms like LinkedIn. So,
for sure.
Great conversation, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
I appreciate all the work that you're doing. I think you're right on in your approach, and I've loved our conversation. Went by so fast. Maybe we can get back together and do something like this again at some point.
Sure.
And so thank you. Thank you for sharing today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I enjoyed it.
Good, good. So for everybody who has been listening to us, I hope that you have appreciated the opportunity to hear from Anthony Blanco. I hope you'll reach out and connect with him. And this is Dr. Matthew Norton, founder of People Plus Purpose, and your host on the Truth Behind Dentistry podcast. Look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.